All right, we are live here, unadvised. I'm Preston Poole. We have Tyler Adams here as well. Let me turn that music off. It's very loud. Everything is just very loud in my headphones right now. But this is Unadvised here on the Sports Animal YouTube, Facebook, as well as our Unadvised Pod X feed as well. So join us, get in the chat. We're going to talk a lot of football, a great weekend of football. We've had now, Teabag, 2 great weekends of football in a row. And hopefully that just keeps continuing here because it's awesome. Well, yesterday from about 2:30 to 6 was not awesome, but other than that, it's been awesome.
It's been an elite weekend of college football once again. And Preston, I know yesterday sucked for a lot of people around here. And not to make this about myself or anything, but it's like OSU has had some pretty disappointing weekends. For example, losing 38-14 or whatever it was to West Virginia. But then on the way home, I could see Alabama lose to Vanderbilt and all just the elite games going on the rest of that day. One thing you got to do during football season is, even if your team just pisses you off, even if you just suck and there's just no hope whatsoever, because that's kind of what seems to be going on in Norman and in Stillwater, is just no hope at all.
Yes.
You just still have to sit back and put all that aside and just enjoy football, because we only get it. You're going to be so mad at yourself in May, if you're sitting there and just like I would do anything to watch OU lose and just watch a football game right now.
Yeah.
Because when we get to that part, that's just all you want in life. So you just got to sit back and enjoy the football. Hopefully, I know yesterday is a little bit different because it was Texas and it's not like you lost to Tennessee or to West Virginia or something. You lost to your arch rival. So it's a little different. But from here on going forward, we all need to promise each other, no matter what happens between the Sooners and the Cowboys, we just got to enjoy the football.
Yes, but people are still going to be mad and bitching and angry at everything, which I kind of like that. So that's the way I was.
We have a Texas fan in the chat already.
Good for them. Yeah, the horns. They got the horns up. I will not be saying that. So yes, yesterday was a bad day for me, Teabag. I told you before we went on. One of my buddies is in the military. He came into town. He's got some training here in the area, so he came into town, and we tried to act like we were 21 again, and we are not. And I'm paying for it today. I'm feeling a lot better though right now. Got some water in me, good to go. But let's talk about that game yesterday in the Cotton Bowl. Obviously, Texas wins 34-3. 3 points. Remember that game 2 years ago where they had a tight end playing quarterback? The Sooners did, and they scored 0 points. Well, they actually had a quarterback playing quarterback yesterday, and they only mustered up 3 points. So Texas wins 34-3. Just off the top, what are your first thoughts on what happened in the Cotton Bowl yesterday?
I have a lot of thoughts. So real quick, I just want to read you this real quick. Brent Venables' combined score against Texas is 113-33. 30 of those points were last year. Or I guess it's 34. 34 I meant. 34 of those points were last year. Or something like that, whatever it was. That's just a stat I saw from X.com. My main thought, number one right now, Preston, is, and this is just something that it's just a reality that we have to talk about. OU ran the Big 12 forever, with Texas kind of in the backs, probably in the passenger seat. Yes, Texas had some down years, but they still won 4 Big 12 titles. I think that's second most. And right now, Texas is not – no one's going to dominate the SEC like OU dominated the Big 12. The SEC is too good of a league for that to happen. If you're deciding between OU and Texas, the roles have completely – I mean completely reversed. Texas is now at the steering wheel of that rivalry. I don't even think OU is necessarily in the passenger seat right now. I think they might be a little bit more in the back seat of that rivalry right now. I mean, the athletes on the field, there's just a complete difference. The coaching, there's just a complete difference. The offense, I mean, it's not even a complete difference. It's one is 1920 and one is 2024.
Well, so on that point, I agree with you currently, but we all know Texas is going to screw it up here in I don't know. I would probably say 3 to 4 years. I'm sure Texas will do something to screw things up. They always do, right? But yeah, no, right now Texas is the better team and the better program at the moment, and I don't think anyone can say otherwise. After we witnessed what happened yesterday.
Just the offense we saw in that field was, I mean, we knew it was bad, Preston. We obviously knew it was bad.
There was still like some like glimmer, like a little,
You
not
think
much.
after the fourth quarter of the Auburn game, getting the win,
Yeah.
going into the bye week, you think that they'd be able to muster up some points.
Yeah, and
they just
3
couldn't.
is what they got. Yeah.
They just couldn't. And the start of that game couldn't have gone more perfect for OU. 3 3-and-outs. Quinn Ewers looked bad, threw an
Interception, yeah.
They got OU set up inside the 50, and you come away with 3 points. And then after that, I think I know in the second half, I didn't think they crossed the 50 into the final drive.
Yeah.
So it's bad.
Yeah, it's not good. That is for sure. And that interception, they get down there, they miss a field goal, which by the way, ever since what was his name? He kicked the burrito. Field goal kicking in Norman has just not been the same ever since he kicked that damn burrito. So it was Gabe Burkich, I believe, was the one that kicked the burrito. Hasn't been the same since. But that was the point where I'm like, all right, the defense got you there, and you missed a field goal. You can't even score a touchdown. It is what it is. First drive of the game. So yeah, it's just the offense is so bad, and for people out there to say that, oh, where's this elite Oklahoma defense? If the defense wasn't any good, Texas would have scored like 1 million points yesterday.
Yeah.
That's just the fact.
I do think I will say this. I think we might have over-evaluated, myself included, OU's defense just a tad, because they are giving up a lot of yards. And I know a lot of it that does have to do with the offense isn't giving them any sort of a break whatsoever. Like, yeah. I get that comes into play, but I don't think we should keep saying that it's a borderline elite defense. I think it's just a very good defense.
Yeah.
But the elite, I think we're past the point of I don't think it's necessarily a borderline elite defense.
And I can agree with that, yeah.
But it's a good defense that can, when you get, if this team has a good offense, like this is a 9-win team with that defense, at least. And that's just with the decent, half-assed decent offense. But they don't even have anywhere close to a half-assed decent offense.
No,
so that's the issue. Like,
and like
if you're to put this defense on any 2015 to 2020 OU football teams, they probably win a national championship.
Oh yeah, if
for sure.
Baker
had
final year,
Kyler's year,
maybe even with I don't know, Jalen Hurts, they ran into that buzzsaw of LSU.
Yeah, and that offense at times would also just feel like it stalemated a lot. I think Jalen Hurts turned it over, so probably not that year, but nonetheless, I mean, you probably definitely get one in 2017, in my opinion, and you're probably right there in 2018.
Yeah.
So I mean, the defense is good enough to win you big time games. It's just the offense is just inept.
And I would love to put all the blame on Seth Luttrell, but you can't. There's injuries, having your top 5 pass catchers out for 2 games in a row. That's not any good. And then the offensive line just isn't any good either. It's terrible.
They're bad, really bad.
No, it was terrible.
Quarterback play is, I mean, I saw people saying they need to go back to Arnold. And I kind of get that from the sense of like, if it's going to be this bad, might as well just keep rolling with the 5-star and just see if he does anything for some hope. But I think he's got to stick with one guy, and I think they've committed to sticking with Hawkins at this point.
Yeah, and that was kind of what I was thinking. Is like, why not just give Jackson Arnold a shot in the second half, just to see if anything can work? And do you think maybe he just told him, "Hey, I want a red shirt," and then after the season, I'm going to transfer somewhere else? Because that's the way it kind of felt.
Jackson Arnold?
Yeah.
I think
because I feel like that you put 3 points on the board in the first half, nothing's going right. That's a perfect spot to bring in Jackson Arnold just to say, screw it, let's see what he can do. Because we're probably not going to win this game anyways, which obviously they didn't. They never had a shot at winning that game yesterday. Like I as soon as I woke up, I saw the line went from 14.5 to 15. And by kickoff, it was like at 17 or 18. Yeah. And I was like, well, I think that, if they're able to put any type of offense out onto the field, which they did not, they can keep it, within 14, I think, 2 scores. And yeah, there was just no shot that OU was ever going to win that game yesterday.
Yeah, and Brent Venables after the game too said, he got asked if there was any chance they even considered putting in Arnold in there, and he just gave one word answer of no. And so I think that kind of tells you where they're at with Jackson Arnold right now.
Yeah, for sure. And that would lead me to believe, like, even if, God forbid, Hawkins gets hurt, do you probably just roll with Casey Thompson as the backup, right? That would be really telling on the whole Jackson Arnold red shirt and transfer stuff.
Can we address something real quick?
Yeah.
Someone just said you Sonnies can't tell the truth about the defense. Jay did. Looks like he's a Texas fan. Dude, I literally just said that I don't think OU's defense is as elite as maybe we thought.
Yeah, they're still
they're good. Yeah. You can't deny they're a good defense. Like, yes, Texas is the clear number one team in the country. They're really good. But OU does have a good defense. They've literally won them a game in the SEC. Yeah. That defense literally won them a road game in the SEC.
This is the issue with Texas being good now, is that all of their fans.
And I catch strays. Like, hey, all you Texas fans, I'm sure there's a lot listening. I'm an Oklahoma State guy. Yeah. So, like, I end up catching strays. You get Texas fans, jeez.
Good people. I've always had a great time when I'm in Austin. I will say that, but they're a little loud on social media, the Texas fans, which Sooners are too.
Are we all?
Yeah. So, but hey, no, they deserve to win. They won, and
I did not like Billy Bowman's comment after the game saying,
"I didn't see it." What did he say?
Let me go find it real quick.
But it's just that game was so ugly on one side. And Ewers didn't play great either. I think Jay mentioned that in the chat. He didn't play great, obviously coming off the injury. And I thought that was a real moment where Oklahoma could capitalize off that. And their offense
they had every chance in the first quarter to try to capitalize and take any momentum in that game. Okay, Billy Bowman's comment was, in my opinion, they didn't earn what they got. And I just thought that was kind of a weak comment to have in the post game.
Yeah. That's just being
take your L and accept it.
Yeah, exactly. Take the L, move on. You got your ass kicked. Move on to the next game. On to who's the coach
South
that says
Carolina.
Yeah, on to South Carolina.
On to Cincinnati. That was Bill Jack.
Yeah. That's the move you got to pull there. Just also, shut up and keep on moving.
Real quick side note: have you seen any of the clips from the FX Patriots show?
I've seen like short clips, like the Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez clip.
Did you see the one with reenacting when they're drafting Hernandez?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna send it to you after the show, right. Preston. We'll put it out on the UNADVISED pod Twitter account as well, so you guys can see it. They show Belichick, and it's like a guy acting like Belichick's like, I mean, I'll play two tight ends. What the hell do you mean? And it's just, and they show Rob Kraft, and it's like just a guy spray painted orange with like bleach blonde hair, and it looks like some of the worst acting. Yeah. I mean, it's not even that the acting is bad; it's the most cringe thing you've ever seen. Is the best way to put it. But that's just a side note.
I hate shows that are so cringy too. I cannot watch that stuff.
Oh no, there's been some really awkward, weird stuff in that
show. Richard on Facebook, what is Deion Burke's injury? I have no clue, to be honest with you. No clue.
Yeah.
No clue.
Nick Anderson, I mean, there's been rumors going around that maybe he's just sitting out for the year.
Yeah.
Like that maybe he could play and he's just like, screw this. It's really bad on the offensive side, and I don't think it's really gonna get fixed much.
No, it's not. No, there's no clear fix to this offense at all. Just offensive line is bad. Maybe if you get a receiver healthy, but I mean, how many they threw the ball 30 times yesterday and still couldn't do anything. Michael Hawkins ran the ball like 20-something times as well. So
he's sort of a.
What did you think about the play calling on offense for Oklahoma?
So, like, at times it looked like they're like trying to get creative and stuff, like putting guys in motion, changing up formations. And so, but they had like 3 straight plays where they were successful running the football, then they threw it like 5 times in a row. And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this?
No, I thought Javonte Barnes at times was able to run the ball well.
Yeah.
I still I don't get what's up with Gavin Sawchuk.
No.
I don't get it. He finished, was it last year? He finished the season with like 500-yard games in a row, or maybe the year before that. I can't remember. but just nothing. He's been missing the whole entire season. And then Taylor Tatum, I think that's a kid you need to get involved in offense no matter how. Like, put him out. He's just that good of a football player.
I think one of the main problems right now, Preston, is it kind of comes back to this. I think OU just has a problem at coaching, like everywhere. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, the defensive side of the ball, like I think they have some pretty good coaching there. But I mean, Bill Bedenbaugh, I mean, I think he's kind of like in that category of he's earned his right to not be.
Yeah.
It's not that he's not gonna get criticized and unrightfully so or anything, because he is rightfully getting criticized right now. But it's not really at the point where it's like, oh, fire Bill Bedenbaugh, because he's earned with his track record, he's earned that he is a good offensive line coach. He's earned that same. But
they just got to do a better job at consistently recruiting offensive linemen, because there's years where they get a bunch of offensive linemen, and there's years where they don't. And it's like, well, you can have a situation like last year where you get a 5-star offensive lineman and then he dips out after one season to go get a bag at Missouri or something like that. So you just got to be way more consistent with that type of stuff.
It's DeMarco Murray. Like, are we sure he's a great coach right now? Because the running backs just we just talked about, just they kind of seem like a hot and cold room. Wide receivers, Emmitt Smith, I think, is a great recruiter, and I get they're completely depleted at wide receivers, so maybe it's unfair to say, but then again, it's like, are we sure about that? Then obviously with Joe, John, and Seth, it's not good at all. The tight ends, like, I don't know what Joe John's, kind of robbing OU right now. It feels like he's not the play caller, and their tight ends just decide not to block pretty much every single play they're in that they're not running a route on. And then there's no old quarterback. There's no coach on the team that formerly played quarterback to coach quarterbacks right now.
I think that's a and I never played football, never coached anything, so I don't know. But I feel like that's a big thing.
Yeah. And it's just, we can talk all day about it. Just the offense. Yeah. I mean, I'll say right now, it's a shit show.
Yeah, no, 100%. Christopher on X, it feels like OU has a problem developing on offense right now. 100%. 100%. There's absolutely no development on the offensive side of the ball. You can see that clearly with Jackson Arnold, right? I mean, he looked decent in that bowl game last year. Obviously threw, 3 or 4 interceptions. I forget how much, but there were spots there where you could be like, all right, you can fix the interceptions. He can still throw a nice deep ball and is able to use his legs. And then this season, it's just like, I don't know how many bright spots there are in his game. The couple games he's played, and then Michael Hawkins, the jury's still out on that. He's only played 2 games or 2.5 games. So we'll see, but definitely on the offensive line.
Another thing is, Preston, I'm going to see if I can find the stats for this. OU is just super undisciplined a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Like the false starts, the penalties, just it feels like they're just so undisciplined. And for a coach that just preaches, discipline over and over, it's just kind of weird. Yesterday they had 7 penalties for 49 yards, and a lot of those were pre-snap penalties.
A guy that they need on that offensive coaching staff?
Yeah.
A guy named Cale Gundy. And I know what happened, and they did what they had to do. But I think if he was still a coach there, he would probably be the offensive coordinator, in my opinion. And I think that he would do a damn good job at that. But, what happened, and, they had to do what they had to do. So, but I think they're missing a guy like that. That's an elite recruiter and just flat out knows ball.
Everything that happened yesterday is a fireable offense for pretty much every coach on the offensive side. And I think it's going to stay that way for the rest of the season as well. I think these coaches 100%. Are probably just dead men walking. Ray asked in the chat, Casey Dunn or Seth Luttrell, who's doing worse right now? Seth Luttrell. Like, I don't even think it's a question. And Casey Dunn's pretty damn bad.
Yeah. When you have in this state, you have 2 schools that are known for offense, and those 2 schools are ranked at the bottom end of offensive rankings in the whole entire country, like out of 130 something schools.
I was thinking about this today, Preston. So if you just go, let's just say 2010 as a starting point for this. If you look at 2010, like OU and OSU football are both climbing. Like OU obviously was having more success than OSU, but like OSU was consistently winning 10 games, finishing in the top 20 in every poll.
Yeah.
Won a Big 12 title. had NFL players all over the field on offense. Like they had a really good run. Obviously, OU did what they did, winning 7 Big 12 championships from 2010 to 2020 to 2021. And then, so let's just say 2021 is the ending point. So 2010 to 2021. 2022, OU and OSU, 6-7 OU, 7-6 OSU. 2023, 10-3 and 10-4. But as we've seen this year, maybe those were just a little bit misleading records. And then this year, it's all just it's just blown up in everyone's face right now. Like, it really is funny that like OU and OSU were like kind of the same. Like OSU was just like this poor OU version where they're playing elite offense, not the best defense, and obviously OU just had that extra step or two over OSU during that time frame. But since that 2022 season happened, it's just been then a little uphill, then right back down, and that's hard down.
It's one of those things where in the Big 12, like you can rebuild from that quickly, but in the SEC, you do that for a couple of years, you're fired, you're gone.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe the Big 12 you have a little bit longer of a leash, right? But the SEC, I mean, you look at schools in the SEC, they fire coaches after like 1 year sometimes.
And I don't think OU is ever going to get to that point as long as Josie's the AD.
Yeah, I agree.
He's part of an AD. But I mean, going into, like we said, unless OU finds a way to turn it around, and at this point, I don't foresee a world where that's the case. I think at this point, you're just fighting to make a bowl game, and just this season is a wash, and you try to restart on offense next year. But going into next season, Brent Venables is definitely going to be the hot seat. Year four, like he's going to be on the hot seat next year. He's going to have a season next year where they win 8 games at least.
100%, and they're still going to have a tough schedule, right? Mm-hmm. Same schedule this year, just reversed. So, any final thoughts on that before we move on to some of these other great games in college football yesterday?
I think we covered it all,
and we'll continue to talk about it this upcoming week on the show.
How is OU a 4-point favorite to South Carolina, and how is OSU only a 7-point underdog to BYU?
Because the games in Norman would be the only reason that I could think.
And then Mike Gundy off a bye week, maybe for the OSU BYU game.
Yeah,
7. I think BYU is going to win this game by 20, at least.
Hey, BYU's good.
We can talk about them, but they're
in those shirts.
Them and Iowa State separated themselves yesterday.
Well, let's just go ahead and start talking about that right now. Those shirts that BYU has, BYU for the quarterback.
The BYU.
Those are awesome. Those are awesome.
A feature on him yesterday on game day.
Yeah, I did see that. Man, it's just they're going to play for the Big 12 title, right? Iowa State and BYU.
It's looking like that right now. The only reason I'm not going to just go ahead and just say for sure right now is because of just how crazy the Big 12 is. And Texas Tech, watch out. They're on a bye week this week, but they're 3-0 in conference play as well. They've been playing really good. Their opponent, they've lost to Washington State, but Washington State's not a bad football team. And their opponents they play have been pretty decent opponents. They beat Arizona State. And so Texas Tech's one of those teams where I'm like, watch out. They play in Ames in a couple weeks. That'll be a big game. But I think it's definitely between those three. And I would give the edge to Iowa State and BYU, especially Iowa State right now. I think Iowa State is a damn good football team.
Yeah.
Going into Morgantown last night, a blackout night game in Morgantown and winning 28-10 is pretty impressive.
Yes. 28-16 was the
16. Okay, yeah. I turned it off when it was 28-10.
Scored 14 in the second and 14 in the fourth quarter. Didn't score in the first or third. They're going to be a top 10 team. I guess they probably are. Yeah, I was saying.
They're number 9.
I keep thinking that the rankings come out Mondays, and then it's like noon on a Sunday. And I'm like, oh, the rankings came out. That's weird. I just got to keep that remembered. BYU beating the hell out of Arizona 41-19 yesterday in Provo. Which team, Iowa State or BYU, do you think is the real deal, or do you think both of them are?
Sorry, bang, baby. Falcons. All right,
I'm watching the same thing as you. Yeah.
All right. No, it was already going to hit, but that just really submitted. I need Bengals money line. The parlay hits. I need Bengals money line. The parlay hits. What was Iowa State and BYU?
Do you think they're both the real deal, or which one do you think is the real deal?
I think Iowa State's more of a real deal right now. I think their defense is elite. They beat Iowa, they're Iowa, but they're a good, solid Big Ten team, and they've always been a thorn in their side to Iowa State.
Yeah.
They beat them on the road this year. So I would give that to Iowa State right now. And they're veteran. They're kind of like OSU. They're literally what OSU was last year. Or they're what we thought OSU was going to be. Iowa State returned like 19 or 20 starters as well. They didn't have the greatest record last year, but they kind of finished the season strong. And so I think there's a veteran team on a mission. And it is funny how, and I don't want to just say like, oh, I was called this all along. So I was never really that active about it, but like everyone was like saying like, oh, Matt Campbell's not a good coach. Matt Campbell's not a good coach. And I never really got on that train because I just kind of just had the impression it's like, I still think he's a really good coach. I think Iowa State's just one of those jobs where it's so damn hard to win at that sometimes you are going to have a year where you go 5-7 followed by a year where you go 7-6.
Yeah.
Like that just might happen. But because Iowa State is just a super tough job to win at. I mean, there's no good recruiting ground there. You're an isolated Big 12 team, cold weather. All those recruits up there go to the Michigans, Penn States, and Ohio States of the world. Their little brother in their own state alone.
Yeah.
And Matt Campbell just is a hell of a coach, and he's
there's times where
there's
times where I would question and be like, is he as good a coach as we all
2021 was questionable. They came off the
Yeah.
Big 12 championship, returned Brock Purdy and those guys, and they had a disappointing season. But other than that, I mean, yeah, 2022 was bad, but they were rebuilding.
Yeah.
Built it back up last year, and here's the product this year.
Yeah, so I completely agree with you. Richard on Facebook says no touchdowns this weekend for OU or the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
So if you're an OU fan that's also a Dallas Cowboys fan, you got to see 0 touchdowns this weekend.
Yeah, that sucks. Freedom Cast, what's your profile picture?
I was thinking the same thing. I was looking at that and I said, what does that
There
look
are children here.
Yeah. All right. How about Alabama? How about Alabama? I mean, barely beating South Carolina, 27-25. What are your thoughts on the Crimson Tide?
I don't think they're as good as maybe we thought after Georgia. I think Georgia might be a little overrated themselves. I mean, they didn't struggle with Mississippi State, but they never ran away with it against Mississippi State. Mississippi State's pretty bad. They allowed Mississippi State to score 31. I mean, I still think DeBoer's are the right guy going forward. I think they're just right now. I think right now what it is,
like a transitional period, right?
I think DeBoer and Saban are just so different in a lot of their philosophies that it's just maybe with a lot of these guys that played for Nick Saban, it's just a different world.
Like a culture shock almost.
A little culture shock. So I think going forward is the right guy, and I still think they're probably a playoff team. I mean, the big game this weekend in Knoxville, them in Tennessee. But I still think they're a good team. They're probably a playoff team, but they're definitely not a national championship contender in my eyes.
No, I agree with you on that. That game was crazy too, by the way. That South Carolina and Alabama game. All right, how about the late one? I'll be honest with you. I had people over last night, and I did not even watch. I think I watched like the final play of this Ohio State-Oregon game, but Oregon wins 32-31. What are your thoughts on that ball game?
Hell of a football game, man. It was a great football game. Both those teams are definitely national championship contenders. My mind does not change on Ohio State. I think if they play that game in the Big Ten championship, I like Ohio State a lot in that game. Called an early lock. I locked Ohio State this week, which sucks because I was so impressive. I was 7-3 in gambling this weekend, and I lost my TNW Tire Lock of the Week, which was nothing on the line for that other than pride, and I love my pride on that show. And so that was a hurtful loss to have. But I do think Oregon won that game fair and square. Oregon was a better team last night. I do think Ohio State going forward, I would like Ohio State in that game. They got a lot. Oregon got I think they're trying to squib kick it maybe. I don't know what it was. It was an onside kick. Bounced off the Oregon player right, or Ohio State player right into Oregon's hands, which set them up. Just it was just Autzen Stadium, late afternoon, early night game in Pacific time zone. Just didn't line up for the Buckeyes, but I still think Ohio State is a national championship contender. And I definitely think Oregon is as well because in Dylan Gabriel, man, he looked great.
Chris on YouTube, how about Army and Navy both being ranked for the first time since 1960? I hope one of them makes the playoffs. I really do. I want one of them to make the playoffs.
Have you heard the crazy hypothetical?
Well, yeah. So they're going to play. It was the American conference that they're in.
Yeah.
So they could meet in that championship game.
Looks like it could happen.
The next week is going to be their game they usually play every single year, and then the playoffs the next week.
So let's say that it's Army, Navy, and the American, and they're both 11-0.
Yeah.
Let's say the winner of that game gets the group of 5 nod. Let's say Boise State drops another game or something. They get the group of 5 nod to go to the playoff. So let's say in this hypothetical, Army wins that. So Army's 12-1, or they're both 12-0 going into it, I guess, because there's 12 regular season games. So Army's 13-0 and Navy's 12-1. Let's say Army gets into the playoff because the selection Sunday is the next day after conference championship. Army could be a playoff team playing Navy. Then what if Navy beats Army, who's a playoff team, and they get their revenge, and they're both like, what, 13-1 or whatever it be? And then, but Army, it's a crazy, crazy hypothetical, and it sucks. But this is what they're gonna have to do, Preston. They're gonna have to move Army Navy and not make it a standalone game anymore.
Yeah,
because I think it is. Because if you're Army, the last thing you want to do is go play a Navy right before the Army Navy game right before a college football playoff game.
Yeah,
like that's not
now.
fun.
I don't think that they will do that just because.
How often is this going to happen?
Exactly. Yeah. How often are they both going to be, potentially unbeaten, playing for a conference title, and then play the next week? So I don't think that would happen, but there could be years where one of them plays for the conference title and the other one's not in that game, and they play, the week after that, which that could be interesting as well. Let me look at what other game I wanted to bring up. Ole Miss losing to LSU. It turns out Lane Kiffin digging into the portal. His team might not be as good as we thought they were.
Lane Kiffin just has a winning a big game problem.
Yeah.
He cannot win big games for the life of him. He just can't. And I'm sure he can pull up like, oh, he beat this team. Okay. I'm sure he's won a couple, decently big games in his career. But whenever his team needs to pull out a win and they're playing a big game on the road or at home, they find a way to lose. And that game was LSU's to lose last night, or whatever that saying is. Like, Ole Miss had every opportunity to close the door on that game, and they just did it.
I completely agree. Yeah, and all the stars that were there at that game in Baton Rouge. I think Shaq, Odell Beckham, Paul Skeens, everybody that went to LSU was at that game last night. It was cool seeing all those clips on social media. Anything else in college? Oh yeah, I forgot Kansas State and Colorado. I was going to bring that game up too. Kansas State wins that one 31-28. Do you think anyone watched that? I mean, it was 9:30 kick here.
I watched a little bit of it, but I went to bed at halftime.
Yeah. Kansas State wins that one. I thought there was a shot that Colorado could win that game, and then we would be talking about Colorado as potentially making the Big 12 title game. But I think we can put all that to bed now.
Yeah, I do think Colorado's a lot better than what we thought. I think they're like a 7 or 1-8 team, which is a lot more than I thought. I mean, I bet them under 5.5 wins. So
they're a bowl game team.
They're a bowl game team. Yeah. And Deion Sanders, calling my shot now. Next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Really?
McCarthy, I think.
And Shador is starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys.
They got to be able to draft him.
I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe he'll go to Miami. How about that? What I would love to see is Coach Prime coaching the Miami Dolphins would be awesome. But I know they just re-signed.
Ooh, what Jacksonville drafting Shador?
Yeah, that's
Coach
true.
Prime going there, Florida.
Yeah. Oh, that would
be a Florida boy.
Have Trevor Lawrence and Shador Sanders on which they would probably trade Trevor Lawrence.
Don't forget Mac Jones.
All right, Mac Jones as well. That's some elite quarterbacks.
Be the best quarterback in the
NFL. Yeah, right. All right. Anything else on college football before we start talking about these NFL games?
I think we've covered it all.
All right. Let's switch over to the NFL. How about we head over across the pond first and talk about your Chicago Bears? I woke up at halftime and started watching this game. What was the final score? It was 35-16. That guy named Caleb Williams had a pretty decent day, through 226 yards, 4 touchdowns, had an interception, but hell of a game from the rookie.
The Caleb Williams haters can go ahead and just start sending me apologies now because boy, boy is starting to come to fruition. The offense looks great 2 weeks in a row. And I know it's the Panthers and Jags. Well, they've looked good before that too. It's been getting better week by week. And guess what? They play the Panthers and the Jags as well. They're NFL players too. And over 35 points or 35 points and was 36 points last week or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Back-to-back weeks. That's pretty impressive in the NFL, no matter who you're playing. The Bears look really good. The defense still looks elite. Defensive line, secondary, Kyler Gordon for the Bears, cornerback, another elite game for him. Just everything looks really good for the Chicago Bears. Do I think they're going to win the NFC? No, or NFC North? No, I don't. Do I think they're a playoff team? Absolutely. It's looking really good. The run game is being figured out. DeAndre Swift's finally starting to become a little bit of a player himself. Offensive line looks a lot better. Coaching does not look nearly as inept as it did at the beginning of the season. So everything's coming to the Chicago Bears right now. And I was a negative Nancy at the beginning of the season, but God forbid a Bears fan is negative when this team looks like they're going to suck, because this is how it's been.
That's
and
ingrained in you, man. What are you talking about?
It's just I'm actually enjoying watching the Bears play, like, for the first time in a while.
I love these London games, because you can wake up and football's on immediately, and you go from 8:30 in the morning to 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night with NFL football on all day. But the fans, I love the fans there. It was the Bears and Jaguars today, and you'll see like a Saints jersey or a Denver Broncos jersey, a Vikings jersey, just everyone wearing different jerseys. It's awesome there. But how about the stinker we're sending them their way next week? The Patriots and the Jaguars next week.
It's hilarious that Jags have to stay. It's in London, the sad Jags.
But hey, that would be one reason why I would hammer the Jaguars next week, because they're staying a full 2 weeks in London, and they'll be well adjusted to the time zone. All right, how about the Cardinals and the Packers? It turns out the Cardinals are a bad football team.
Yeah, Cardinals, they're a bad football team that can be fun, but they're just not always fun. Yeah. Today was one of those days where they're not fun at all. And the Packers are looking good again. Just what they do.
Yeah. Looking real good, I might add. The Packers are. That's going to be a great division when it comes down to it. I mean, I don't know what to think with the Cardinals, though, man. I thought they've shown so many spots where it's like, all right, they can actually do this. I want to go back and look at the game that I was like, yeah, it was that Rams game. It was week 2. And then, of course, San Francisco last week, where they just played great. Were putting up points. And even in that Buffalo game to open the season, they were great as well. And just I don't get how they are as bad as they are. So, all right, the Colts at the Titans. The Colts win that one 20-17. Gross is kind of how I would describe both of those teams.
Didn't really watch a whole lot of that game. That was definitely one of those games.
That's the one where you're watching Red Zone and they show it like maybe every 30, 45 minutes when someone gets like close to kick a field goal or something like that. But Joe Flacco's still doing it. It's crazy to think that an elite guy like Joe Flacco is still in the league slinging the ball around for the Colts. So shout out to him. And then the Texans at the Patriots today. The Texans win that one 41-21. It looks like the Texans are finally getting going and are starting to pull away from some people in some of these games, because they had a lot of close ones to start the season.
Yeah, in that second half, they just came out and they completely just turned it on and said, all right, we're not – it was, 14-7 at halftime?
Yeah.
I believe it was. And then in the second half, they just came out and said, all right, we're not messing around anymore. We're the better team, and we're going to show you here.
Which is a complete 180 from what they were doing previously, because they would be up, and then they would let the teams back into the games. I remember that Colts game early in the season. They did that. But obviously getting Joe Mixon back is massive for them because he's a great running back for them. How about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man? 51 points they scored today in an NFL football game. You score 51 points against the New Orleans Saints that everyone just fell in love with. This is the battle of Baker Mayfield and Spencer Rattler in this game. And I mean, for his first start, I thought Spencer Rattler played pretty great. Not great, pretty good, I should say.
Yeah, he started off really good. It kind of came a little bit back down to reality in the second half, but I think that not necessarily expected, but that's just kind of what happens in
Yeah,
NFL games when you get teams time to adjust and stuff.
especially
Uh,
against a team like the Bucks too. I mean, they're a pretty good football team.
but Baker played great today, other than those 3 interceptions. He had
Yeah,
three bad interceptions, but other than that, he played a phenomenal football game. And Bucks got a really good offense. Defense is struggling, but their offense is electric.
yeah. Bucky Irving, one of the best names in football.
Great name. It
He's
doesn't sound
electric.
real.
Yeah, at all. Yeah, Bucky Irving. He's electric for them, and yeah, they played great. It's just there are so many former OU players in this game: Sterling Shepard, Baker Mayfield, Spencer Rattler. I'm trying to look the other ones. I thought there was another one, but um, just those there it was funny. And then did you see after the game, Baker Mayfield? They asked him about Texas planting the flag through his jersey yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, they've been thinking about me for like a decade now."
Yeah, that's pretty rip free. It was pretty rip free. Just have a basic like OU #1 jersey or something,
Yeah,
or like a
yeah.
Stutzman jersey. Like, why are you having a Baker Mayfield jersey?
Like they've kept that in the closet for like what 6 years now at this point.
Yeah,
I don't even know how long he's been gone, but they've had that thing in the closet for a while.
seven
Yeah.
years now.
So they've had that there, just waiting for that to happen. How about the Eagles? What are the vibes on the Eagles? What are we thinking about the Philadelphia Eagles?
They could have lost today. They could have
Yeah.
lost today, and that would have been really bad for Philly sports. I don't think they're that good of a football team, Preston, because the Browns are pretty bad and they struggle with them at
Do
home
you think
today.
it's like a coaching issue or a players issue? Because they've got players.
I would venture to say coaching
Yeah.
and
I'm
locker room.
leaning that way. Yeah.
Locker room seems like kind of toxic.
They need a good vibes guy, and unfortunately, when I look at Jalen Hurts, he's not the best vibes guy. Doesn't look like the best vibes guy that I've ever seen. So they need to get someone like that in that locker room, head coach, something. They got to figure something out because you have Saquon, you got AJ Brown, you got Devonta Smith, you got great weapons there on offense. And you muster up 20 points. And I know the Browns defense is all right, but you still got to put some more points up on the board if you are the Eagles. All right, how about the Commanders and the Ravens? This was a game where this should have been the matchup that is getting ready to start here in a little bit on Sunday night, but they couldn't get the rights for it. So what are your thoughts on the Commanders-Ravens game?
It kind of went how I thought it was going to go. I thought the Ravens were going to win that game, but the Commanders gave you not hope, because I think Commanders fans already have a bunch of hope right now. But it gave you like, okay, like you can live with a loss right like that.
Yeah.
In this kind of year for the Commanders, where you're already exceeding expectations. Jaden Daniels looks good yet again. It's just the defense just isn't right there yet for the Commanders. So I thought it kind of went how it was going to go. The Bengals were going to be in control the whole game and win. The Commanders were going to fight, and Jaden Daniels was going to look good. And kind of what happened on the
Yeah,
football
Jaden
field.
Daniels just continues to look great.
Yeah.
Continues to look great. Hopefully we won't have that meme for the Bears. But Caleb Williams is looking good too. I just like to throw it out there every now and then. And how about this?
Don't doubt anything with Chicago Bears.
That is true. How about the Steelers and the Raiders? I watched zero of this game because the Chargers game was on and I had that on the TV. So I did not watch this, but the Steelers win 32-13. The Raiders suck. I mean, they're terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Awful.
It's crazy that hiring a TV personality as your head coach and having quarterbacks that are terrible ends up meaning your team is terrible.
Yeah, not a good recipe.
Funny
Not a
how
good
that
recipe.
works.
Yeah.
How about the Falcons and the Panthers? Falcons win that one. I know you were keyed in on that one.
Yeah, it's -6.5. Plus, I had a money line in a parlay. So just need Bengals. Just need Bengals. And Poppy's going to be rich. Poppy's got to book a flight to New Orleans in March, and that might just pay for it.
There you go. The Lions and the Cowboys. We did talk a little bit about this one earlier. The Cowboys didn't even score a touchdown. The Lions win 47-9. The Lions might have lost a little bit though because of Aiden Hutchinson snapping his leg. I did not watch it. I will not watch it. But you said that Dak fell on it after too.
Yeah, it was snapped and it was like up in the air, and Dak was falling down and landed on his snapped leg. They didn't even the part I saw on Twitter didn't even like show that part because they're like it's so gruesome. So
Yeah.
I saw the snapping of the leg, I saw the leg dangling, and Dak falling on it was probably a very, 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 very painful experience.
Oh yeah, I would imagine. There's going to be some injury, clip pervert out there that is going to post that somewhere. So I'm sure
that's killer for the Lions, though.
Oh
But
yeah,
that might be the reason they don't win a Super Bowl this year.
yeah, because he's a
taking away your
he's a massive
elite,
part of that defense. Yeah,
taking away your elite pass rusher could be all. I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm not saying they won't do it. I'm not saying they won't be in the NFC Championship. I still think they're a really good football team. The offense is electric. But if they lose 3 points or by 3 points or something in the NFC Championship, you might just say Aiden Hutchinson might have been the difference.
Yeah, I can get down with that. All right, the Chargers and the Broncos. Chargers win that
Congrats.
one 23-16. Thank you. Scary moment before the game. Jim Harbaugh had to be taken to the medical tent.
What happened? I saw he went to the medical tent.
To do with I forget the term. It's like with his heart. What's the term?
Like palpitations or something?
Something like that. So he did that. But this game, the first play of the game, first of all, Pat Surtain gets a concussion and is out of the game. And then you have the Jim Harbaugh stuff right after that they pop on the TV. And then who was it for the Chargers? Quentin Johnston goes to the locker room. In the first 5 minutes of the game, we had 3 people in the locker room with injuries. And one of them was the head coach. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on in this game? But they pull it out. Justin Herbert had some perfect throws today. He played great. That offensive line still needs some work. They are not good. But Herbert, 237 yards and a touchdown. J.K. Dobbins, 4 yards shy of 100. He had 96 and a touchdown. So
aren't the Chargers kind of like what we thought they're going to be this year, where it's like they're not going to be great. They're not going to be a like a Super Bowl contender or even a division contender, but
they're going to win football games.
They're going to win football games and might just sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's exactly how it's been so far. I mean, they're 3-2. They lost to a Steelers team that, Justin Herbert was injured. And the Steelers defense was, obviously pretty good. So who else did they lose to? I forget. I'm blanking off the top of my head. The Chiefs. They lost to the Chiefs by a touchdown. So they've lost by a combined 17 points in their 2 losses this year. So, all right. Wrap up the NFL. How about this ball game going on tonight? I'm not too enthused to sit down and watch this game.
I am now.
Bengals and the Giants.
I am now with the money I got at stake.
This feels like a massive spot for the Bengals. They have to win this game.
This is a must win.
Yeah,
it's
must
in New
win,
York,
can't
right?
lose. Yeah. Yes, this is at MetLife.
That sucks. I hate games on MetLife. MetLife is just such a bad stadium, in my opinion.
It's like
there's no life to it.
Exactly. There's no life. Very like corporate-y vibes.
Yeah, doesn't feel loud and intimidating.
Yeah,
like I want that game in the jungle.
Yeah. Yes, that would be awesome. Hell, play it in the parking lot there in New Jersey. I'm sure that's a better atmosphere than the MetLife. Who you got in that one?
Please be Bengals. Please be Bengals. I do think the Bengals are going to win.
Did you get them at minus 4.5?
Money line.
Okay.
Money line in this parlay.
Just need them to win. So
need to win.
You know what? I'll ride with you on that. We'll go with the Bengals tonight. How about tomorrow? The Bills and the Jets.
It's going to be an interesting game with the firing of Robert Saleh. See how the Jets come out and play. I think there's a game where I kind of like lean the Jets. I think they're going to have a lot of good vibes going into it. What's the spread in that game, Preston? Do you have it in front of you?
Buffalo minus 1.5.
Ooh.
So I think Vegas might think that the Jets might get a little fired up for their new head coach.
I would probably still lean the Bills with that spread. I do think the Bills are going to win, but I thought the spread was going to be more like 5 or 6.
Yeah, you would. I mean, you would think that's what it would be, but no, it's 1.5. Yeah.
So okay, I think the Jets are going to keep it close. I think they're going to fight, but I'm going to take the Bills plus minus 1.5.
I'm with you on that. Honestly, though, this could also be a game where the Bills just blow them out, and we're done with the Jets for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
I could very easily see that happening. So, We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Anything in the NFL before we talk just real quick about some baseball?
No, I think we covered it.
All righty. Well, get into a little baseball going on tonight and what tomorrow as well. The Mets and the Dodgers play tonight. The Mets. I mean, the Mets.
Love them.
Yeah. And historically, I don't like the Mets, but this year they're the meme team is what they are. The meme team.
Yeah, they got the OMG with that song that the player wrote. They got Grimace.
Hawk-Tua.
They just they're a team of destiny. On top of it, they went on a crazy run to even get here. Yeah, they're a hard team to not root for right now, and their fans, like, I really do want their fans, like, to be happy, like the Frank the Tanks of the world and stuff. Like, they've just been long suffering, just gone through some miserable experiences, especially in the last like 3 or 4 years of just a bunch of collapses. Just the exact opposite of what they're doing this year has happened in the last few years. So I'm rooting heavy for the Mets. I want them to win it all.
Have you seen the Hawk-Tua girls Twitter page?
I've seen some of it.
All she does is tweet about the Mets, and I want to know how much the Mets are paying her to do that, because there's no way a girl from Tennessee, the backwoods of Tennessee, is just a massive Mets fan. All she's like tweeting about the Mets, like just memeing the hell out of the Mets, which everyone is. All the Mets fans are memeing them. That's why I call them the meme team. They're the meme team.
Let me go to Twitter real quick and look at some of this. What's her name?
Haley Welch, I believe is her name. But yeah, she's like a Mets incel online. It's
I didn't know that about her.
she has to be getting a paycheck or something. I don't know. I think it's funny, but it's just so random to see her just tweeting about the Mets and posting videos about the Mets all the time. There's a Photoshop of her head on Mrs. Met, where like the head is off of Mrs. Met, and she is her head is there, like she's wearing the costume. So
she threw a first pitch there on August 15th.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I think they won like 70-80% of their games after that.
Yeah, because August is whenever they went on their run.
Yeah.
Hoptober. I love that.
Yeah, and again, the Mets, they had in June, obviously it's Pride Month, so they had the gay Mets, and they had Grimace in there as well, and then Hawk-Tua. They are the ultimate meme team, the New York Mets are. And you know what? Screw it. I hope they win the World Series.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on Mets win the World Series. They're
Guardians, Yankees. I hate the Yankees, so I want the Guardians to win this
series. Same here.
That's the only analysis.
Also, if it's Mets Guardians, you can be happy with either way that goes.
Yeah,
because Guardians fans have gone through a lot with their baseball. City of Cleveland in general has gone through a lot. The Browns fans need some hope. And yeah, they got their title with LeBron, so like the curse is broken, but not that they've won a whole lot. And the Guardians / Indians have really gone through a whole lot. Kind of the last 30 years. I've always just been knocking on the doorstep and just never broke through. Blew a 3-1 World Series lead in 2016. We don't talk about that enough, how they blew a 3-1 lead. So that would be one of those.
Because it was the Cubs, and people want to act like they're all Cubs fans and all that. So
I'm sure you're really happy after that World Series, weren't you?
Was not at all.
But that would definitely be like one of those World Series matches where it's like I'd still be rooting for the Mets, but you could be happy with the Guardians winning that as well.
Yeah, for sure. And plus, I want no part of the Dodgers and Yankees in the World Series. I know that's what Rob Manfred is going to like cook up in his lab and make happen because he's just the worst commissioner of all time. But I do know. Give me Mets Guardians.
Yankees will be fun.
That would be, the Subway Series, World Series would be kind of interesting and fun. But give me Mets and Guardians. I'd much rather sit down and watch that just for the hell of it than have to hate watch the Dodgers and the Yankees for a couple of games. All right, you got anything else before we wrap this thing up?
Come on, Joe Burrow.
Yep. We're Joe Burrow guys tonight for the next 3 hours. That game coming up. We'll be back.
Surely a team in orange and black will not disappoint me, right?
Yeah, that's never happened before, huh?
No, never.
The schedule this week on it will probably be live Wednesday, honestly, because we've got Thunder and other stuff going on. So We won't be able to do the normal Tuesday, Thursday because the Thunder play those nights, and I've got to be up at the radio station to do that stuff. So probably won't stream those nights, but we'll be back at some point this week. We'll tweet out a link and let you guys know when that'll be and give you a time and all that. But that's going to do it for us here. We'll be back sometime this week, and then for sure next Sunday with you for another weekend football recap. Preston Poole, Tyler Stakes. See you guys.